The Fujifilm X-T3 has sort of taken the photo and video world by storm. I don't know if I've ever had as many requests for a review as I have for the X-T3, but I've been using this camera for about 4 months and I've shot a lot of photos and a lot of videos with it. So today I'm going to be sharing my thoughts, going over some features of the camera, and show a lot of work that I've made with it. But first I want to let you guys know that today's video is brought to you by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes in business, design, and most importantly, photography, and there are plenty of other subjects as well. You can take classes from experts in their own field so that way you can improve your own skills and do more of the work that you love. For photographers, I highly recommend a few classes, some from Stephen Vanasco, Elizabeth Weinberg, Andre Wagner. There are a ton of great photography classes that I've personally taken on there and I see a ton of value in. This is a subscription service that's actually a lot more affordable than most online learning programs. This comes out to less than $10 a month annually. However, if you'd like to try it out for a free trial, the first 500 people that sign up with the link in the description, you're going to get 2 months entirely free of Skillshare. Okay, there is a lot to talk about with the X-T3. I'm going to try to be as thorough as possible without just reading off a bunch of specs, so let's get started and talk about the design of the camera. There's very little difference in terms of design and layout with the X-T2 and the X-T3, and that's actually a good thing because everything is thoughtfully laid out. All of your function buttons sit comfortably where they should be. Having a physical dial for your shutter speed, aperture, and even your ISO, it's nice being able to know where my exposure is before even turning on the camera. I can just look down at the camera, have my settings ready to go, and that's super helpful for me as I'm walking around shooting and even as I'm, spending time with the family and I'm ready to grab my camera for a quick photo. It's always nice to be able to have your settings ready to go and dialed in. With all these function buttons all over the camera, it makes it really easy to use to set up for anything that you're going to be regularly going to. For me, this is especially helpful when it comes to shooting video, which we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But they also have some swipe features on the LCD screen. I know a lot of people have been asking for things like this, so I would say overall this is a positive thing because Fuji is listening to what people want. But me personally, I turned these off as soon as I got the camera just because I prefer a tactile button or dial rather than swiping on the LCD. But again, I know some people would prefer to use this, so it's nice that it's there. The autofocus on the X-T3 has also been great. Depending on which lens you're using, some lenses are going to focus faster than others, but all around from all the different lenses I've used, whether it be some of the smaller f2 lenses or the bigger lenses like the 23 f1.4 or 56 f1.2, there is going to be a slight difference there going from lens to lens, but all around the X-T3 is performing great in terms of autofocus. Now in terms of manual focus, one lens I actually own that I've been using more than any other lens is the Mitacon 35mm f0.95. This is a manual focus only lens and I find myself using this all the time. As a matter of fact, I've shot 2 weddings with the X-T3, and both weddings I shot probably 90 to 95% of the entire day with that one lens. That's both for portraits, for any detail work, even candid stuff throughout the day. Using the focus peaking on the X-T3 has been great. I set mine to red and high, and that just works perfectly for me. I can comfortably shoot with that lens, even wide open, all day long, and the focus peaking is great. It makes it very clear what's in focus and what's not, and I don't really feel the need to check and make sure I nailed focus. I can just shoot confidently using manual focus and focus peaking together, and it works great for me. Now, one thing you always hear people talk about is the film simulation on Fuji cameras, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't really take advantage of this. It doesn't really apply to me all that much because I like having flexibility in post depending on what kind of look I'm going for, so I'm always shooting raw. So no matter what film simulation I'm shooting, it's always just going to default back to the standard raw look. And I love Fuji's colors. I love the way that their raw files are handled in Lightroom. Everything works great for me. But in terms of actually using the film profiles, I just have it set to classic chrome because I do like the way those colors look. Again, I'm just shooting raw. Occasionally, maybe I need to send a photo to social media or to a friend, and I'll do a quick little raw conversion in camera. And in that case, I'll probably go with classic chrome just because I like the way those colors are. But they're great. The film simulations are awesome, and I know a ton of people love Fuji cameras specifically for that. It's just not something I personally take much advantage of. Now let's talk a little bit about video, because this camera grabbed attention from a lot of video shooters, more than most Fuji cameras do, to be honest. The one drawback I think for a lot of people is that there is no in-body image stabilization, which is understandable because if you're shooting anything handheld, having that in-body image stabilization does help a lot. But I still think there are a lot of great benefits to the X-T3 when it comes to video. You've got internal F-Log recording, so you can shoot in log format, have a nice flat profile to work with, which gives you tons of room for color grading. I personally love F-Log. I've been using it nonstop ever since I got the camera. You can shoot 4K up to 60 frames a second and 1080p up to 120 frames a second, which is awesome for really slow motion shots. Another nice little feature is the tally light on the camera, so that way it'll let you know when you're recording and when you're not recording. This is super helpful when you're filming yourself in these kind of scenarios. If you're not using a monitor, it's nice to be able to know when the camera's recording and when it's not. Speaking of filming yourself, whenever I do this, I have the face and eye detect turned on this camera, and it has worked flawlessly. That's been super, super helpful whenever I'm filming these videos by myself and I don't have anybody behind the camera to make sure I'm in focus. Face detect works great on this camera. And that goes for shooting portraits as well, and kids moving around. Face detect has been awesome whenever I am using an autofocus lens. And video shooters, rejoice. This is one very small but nice feature that I think a lot of people will appreciate, and that's this little removable door on the side of the camera. This door covers up the microphone, headphone, USB, and HDMI input. And it's nice to be able to remove it so that way you don't have a door that's dangling off the side of the camera or one that's open that's getting in the way. If you're using a lot of different accessories, or maybe you're throwing the camera inside of a cage whenever you're setting up a big video rig, it's nice that you don't have to worry about a door getting in the way, but you are going to have to worry about losing this little thing because that is guaranteed to happen. The X-T3 uses the same W126S batteries that are used in the X-T2 and I think a couple of other Fuji cameras at this point. They're fine, but they're not great. I mean, there's no other way around it. These batteries aren't very big. They don't last as long as some popular DSLR batteries or even other mirrorless batteries that are out these days. But it is what it is. You know, buy a few extra batteries, suck it up. It's going to be okay. I have 3 batteries myself, and I've used these 3 batteries on a wedding day, shooting all day long, and I've never had to recharge any of the batteries. I've just gone from one to the next, and I've never run out of battery there. So 3 batteries for me is plenty. Try it out for yourself, see what works best, but you're going to have to pick up some extra batteries. Now this camera does have a lot of features and really strong performance packed into it that, in all honesty, I don't think I take full advantage of just because there are things that I don't necessarily need. Things like 30 frames a second continuous shooting, and that's with the electronic shutter turned on and you're not getting any blackout in the viewfinder as you're shooting 30 frames a second. That is mind-blowing to me. I don't have any use for that. I've never used that on this camera, but the camera does offer that, so if that's something you could use, enjoy. To me, it's just insane that cameras at this price point are seeing these kind of features implemented. It's just wild. The ISO range goes way beyond what I would realistically ever need, but it's nice knowing that I can go up to 6400. That's really as high as I've ever had to use this camera, was at 6400. And the results are nice and clean. I love the way it looks, so I'm comfortable knowing that my ranges are covered there, but if you need to go past that, you're able to with this camera. So again, there are just a lot of different features packed into this thing that I personally don't use or need, but it's nice that this is pretty well rounded for a lot of different people. One of the most interesting things about the camera is just the price point, because it's retailing for $14.99 brand new. And actually right now, at least in North America, it's on sale for $13.99 at most retailers, which is just insane because I think when the X-T2 came out, it was originally released for maybe $15.99 or $16.99. So when the X-T2 came out, it didn't have nearly as many features as this camera does today, yet it was retailing for more. Like, they have really packed a lot for a really low price for this camera, and that's exciting. It's pretty impressive too. And even for older cameras like the X-T2, Fuji regularly makes firmware updates for their older cameras, so you can buy a used older camera and get a better camera today than it was when it first came out, as they continue to improve these cameras, which I think is a great thing. It's exciting to see where they're going moving forward. All in all, after 4 months of use, I am thoroughly impressed with the X-T3, and while I am looking forward to seeing what Fuji does next, until then, I am very happy with my X-T3. So if you guys have any questions or thoughts about the X-T3, maybe if you're on the fence about picking one up or if you picked one up yourself, definitely let me know in the comments below. So thank you guys for everything. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.